Knowing. Let's get into it. Knowing is from 2009 and it lasts for 2 hours and 1 minute. Yeah. An hour and 1 minute too long. Well, it stars Nicolas Cage as John Kessler. Knowing opens in 1959 at a primary school. There are a bunch of pupils sitting around and they're getting ready to bury a time capsule.
I made us a time capsule.
So all the pupils are asked to write something or draw something that they can put in the time capsule, so that when it's opened in 50 years or whatever, people can look at it and say, oh, how interesting, look at how they lived back in the 50s. Yeah, the one little girl, she's so serious looking, she stares up at the sky, and then she starts to write, and she just writes random numbers, like thousands of random numbers on the dictator. They decide to put it in the time capsule anyway. Yeah, and then after the ceremony, the little girl goes missing, and they eventually find her. She's in a closet, and on the closet door she's written, in her own blood, she has scratched into the door with her fingernails, and her fingers are all like covered in blood. She's written no random numbers. Yeah, she just keeps writing these random numbers.
What's she up to?
Later, 2009, yeah, makes sense, yeah. And Nicolas Cage is there with his son, and they live out in the country, and they're looking up at the sky, and they see some stars, and they're talking about the dead mum. The little boy says, look, I wonder if Nun, when she died, she became one of those stars. And Nicolas Cage, the little boy's dad, says, nope. But his son, Caleb gives him a look, and he changes slightly and says, well, we can't be sure. Who knows?
But no.
Don't sugarcoat it now, Nate. Don't backtrack now, Nate. The next day we see John Kessler at work. He's a professor and a lecturer at Massachusetts Institutional Technological College. Something like that. Yeah, nothing like that. Well, whatever. He's teaching his class that things aren't predetermined. Yes, he puts it.
Shit just happens.
He strongly believes there's no purpose. There's no order to things. Things just happen at random, and we just deal with it in life. Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
We see Caleb at school, and there's a ceremony going on. Guess what it is? It's the same primary school, or elementary school, sorry. And they're opening up the time capsule.
Capsule open.
Yeah, they've even brought back the old teacher who buried it to open it, to unbury it. So this old lady opens up the time capsule, and she says to the kids, okay, come and take something from the 1950s and see what you've got. Yeah, and they go frantic. It's like Santa's in town. They're going nuts for these bits of tater. Oh, calm down, kids. Anyway, Caleb ends up getting the piece of tater with all the random numbers.
Lucky me.
Now later that evening, John is having a look at the bit of paper Caleb has brought home. And he stumbles upon a number that seems very familiar to him, very familiar to most people now. And it is 9/11. Yeah, it's like 09112001. September 11th, 2001. Yeah, in American format. Yeah, we would write 11092001.
The right way.
Anyway, he goes down a rabbit hole and he's looking at all these different numbers on the sheet, and he is convinced that they are all dates. And he looks further into it, he kind of gets obsessed. He gets obsessed for a minute, and he's looking at all these dates, and he realises all of them have had some significant disaster happening throughout the last 50 years. Yeah, so that little girl wasn't just writing down random numbers 50 years ago. She was writing down dates on which significant things will happen in the world.
She's not mad.
This scene ends with John finding something that shocks him. We don't see what it is. The suspense is killing me. The next morning before school, Caleb, he says he feels like his dad is acting a little bit awkward. It's Nicolas Cage, Nate. Of course he's acting awkward. At work that day, John goes to see his colleague Joel, and he tells him what he's discovered, and Joel is like, you're getting carried away with conspiracy theories, this is a lot of nonsense. He basically doesn't believe him. Not, because why would you? So John goes and visits the old teacher to see if she remembers the little girl who wrote all these numbers. Yeah, and they both just talk about it. They both just talk trash about this little girl, who's dead, by the way. Lucinda, her name was. So John goes and tracks down the janitors from the school. Don't know why. I think later on we find out the janitors help him track down a door which had all the numbers on it. Oh yeah, I think so.
Who knows?
Anyway, later John is at home. His sister turns up, Grace. Yeah, and Grace is like, you have to make peace with Dad. He's not getting any younger. John had a difficult relationship with his dad. Yeah. So the sister's always trying to patch things up between both of them. John's too distracted to worry about any of that because he sees today's date and he sees 81 and he's expecting 81 people to be dead. Because after every date written, there's also a number of people who have died. Yeah, so he's got today's date and he sees 81, so he's waiting all day for 81 people to die.
Interesting hobby.
And then nothing happens all day. And then that night he goes to pick up Caleb, who's somewhere. He gets in the car, drives off to pick up Caleb, and then there's a plane crash. A plane crashes right in front of him. It's mental. This movie is something else. Plane crashes right in front of him. He goes and tries to help people, but we find out the death toll is actually 81. And you see people on fire and all this. It's pretty gruesome. Yes, yeah. So a bit of further investigation. The numbers are not just dates, but they're also the dates and how many dead. Yeah, they're also coordinates. Yeah, that's right. That's the part he couldn't figure out until now. But he realises it's a date, number of dead, and coordinates. While he's figuring this out at home at night, someone is watching his house. Some weirdo in the woods just watching his house later that night in the middle of the night. At like 3 a.m. or something. Caleb wakes up and is dead, and this weirdo is in his dead room.
Call the police.
The weirdo points to the window. Caleb looks and sees everything is on fire. Everything. Even a noose. Yeah, it shows a moose on fire. Who made this? Over the next couple of days, John decides to stalk this woman, another parent at his son's school. Yeah, her name's Diana. And it turns out she is the daughter of Lucinda. Small world, eh? He finally approaches her and tells her what's going on. She doesn't want to know. She's like, you're crazy. Goodbye.
See ya.
That night we see more weirdos watching the house. Meanwhile, John finds out tomorrow's date is on the sheet and there are a certain number of dead people, the coordinates. He tries to phone the authorities to let them know, but no one will take him seriously. Of course. So he decides to take action. He follows the coordinates, ends up in New York City. Oh, anyway, he drops off Caleb at his sister Grace's house. Yeah, so he goes to New York City the next day and he sees a guy looking suspicious heading into the subway, the exact coordinates, and he thinks this guy is going to blow up the subway. So he chases him. Yeah, chases him, tackles him, and the guy is just selling dodgy DVDs. Of this movie. No, not really. But the coordinates weren't wrong. There's a train coming through the subway and the driver has passed out. It creates carnage. Kills loads of people. Loads of people. Yeah. John goes home and he finds Diana and her daughter waiting. Yeah, her daughter's the same age as Caleb. Like I said, they're at the same school. Yeah, in the same class. They're little buddies. Yeah. She says, okay, I kind of believe you now. Let's go for a trip to my childhood home. So all four of them get in the car. They drive off to where Lucinda raised Diana before she died. So they go there. Diana and John go into the house. They leave the kids in the car. Yeah, and they look at they find the door or an actress or something with loads more numbers. And the very last thing written by Lucinda at the very bottom of the page or the door or the actress or whatever it was says E. And they can't figure out what this means. Anyway, they get out to the car and the weirdos are there. Yeah, the weirdos are watching the car. These really white people are watching the car. They're approaching the car where the kids are. John starts to chase them off. He gets a baseball bat or something and starts to chase them off. Says, don't you come back here. Leave my kids alone. In fact, does he not pull out a gun? Yes, he does. That's right. And he's going to shoot at them. But then one of them opens their mouth and a bright light emanates from the mouth. What is this now? John and Diana somehow figure out that EE means everybody else. Everyone in the world. Yeah, and it's tomorrow's date. Yeah. No coordinates needed because everyone on Earth is going to die tomorrow. Oh, by the way, Caleb has been hearing voices all the way through the movie, and he can communicate with these weirdos that have been watching him. Abby apparently has the same gift. Abby is Diana's daughter. Yeah, whatever. The next day, they all go to John's work, they do a bit of research, and they find out that the sun is going to erupt, sending out a solar flare, destroying Earth and a few other surrounding planets. Yet, it's all going to Byrne. Yeah.
Everything burns.
There's nothing that can be done to stop it, so John tells Joel, this is what's happening, go and be with your wife. Yet, Joel thought he's just going in for a regular day at the office. He didn't realise tomorrow the whole world is dead. Now John, Diana, the kids and Grace all get into a car and decide to go on the run from the end of the world. Where are you going to run to? I don't know. But they decide to drive anyway. And there are actually other people starting to panic because it's getting hotter and hotter. Yeah. People are realising this is not just a good summer.
It's called global warming, Johnny.
Okay.
John stops along the way to phone his dad to make peace and to say the world's ending tomorrow. And his dad is like a minister or something. He's pretty chill about it. He's like, well, if that's the way it is. Let me ask you something. What is it? Have you seen this before? No, I've never seen it before. Did you know what it's about? I had no idea what this movie was about. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. We find Caleb writing some numbers. Yeah, don't know how. It's the end of the world. What's the point? So they're driving erratically, heading nowhere in particular, and then they decide to stop at the school and they find the old door that Lucinda was locked behind. Yeah, and on that door she's actually written coordinates. So John had run into the school and found this door, found these numbers, and when he comes back out, Diana has freaked out, she's panicked too much, and she's driven off in the car with her kid and his kid. Later we see Diana driving along, she stops for gas, and while she stops for gas there's an emergency broadcast on the TV in the gas station. Caleb takes this chance to run out of the car and he uses a public phone to call his dad. He says, this is where we are. Diana is crazy. Diana takes the phone when she comes out and she speaks to John. She still won't believe him, despite everything. Yeah, so how's your enough then? Yeah, I don't know. But while she's talking to John on the phone, the weirdos appear. They take the kids, run off with the kids. Diana tries to give chase and crashes her car instantly. And she is dead.
Didn't see that coming.
John eventually makes it to the gas station. He finds Diana being taken into a hospital. She's definitely dead. She is. And he says, sorry. And then goes on the hunt for his kid and her kid. Yeah. He follows the coordinates and it leads him to Diana's mum's old home. Her childhood home. Yeah, Lucinda's old childhood home. He's got a gun and he goes on the search for the weirdos and his kids. He eventually finds them. And each child is holding a rabbit. They have new pets. Yeah, Caleb and Addy now have little bunny rabbits to look after at the end of the world. And it turns out these weirdos are actually aliens.
What?
And these aliens are here to save Caleb and Addy. And these two rabbits and no one else. This is news to Caleb. He thought his dad was coming with him, but the aliens tell him telepathically, only you two kids can come in this spaceship. Yeah, this could be an elaborate child catching scheme. It could be, just end the world just to kidnap two kids. Yeah, you never know. Anyway, John eventually says, well, it's okay, I'll stay here and die. Goodbye, my son. It's an emotional farewell. Not that emotional, because it's Nicolas Cage. The weirdos, the aliens, turn to light. The kids go with them, and they get a spaceship, and the spaceship takes off from Earth. Yeah, but then they see there are actually loads of spaceships taking off from Earth. Yeah, they've actually been saving quite a lot of kids. Yeah, that's good. Not all the kids. Not even 1% of the kids on Earth. But some kids, probably the rich ones. They're taken to safety as John cries in the darkness. How sad. Suddenly it's the next day. John gets in his car. He drives to Grace's house, where Grace is there, and so are his parents, his mum and his dad. And they all hug. And the dad says, "This isn't the end, son." And John says, "I know that it is." I mean, the dad's a preacher and he's saying this is not the end. There's more after this. Despite the fact that there's aliens and the world's on fire, you can't have it both ways, surely. Well, who knows? Me. And then that's it. Planet Earth is burned, blown up, destroyed. Everyone, everything, every living being on the planet is scorched. Lovely. We see all the kids on the new planet frolicking, having fun, chasing their pet bunnies, and they all rush towards a tree of light. What is going on? I don't know. And that's the end of the movie. Oh, what an experiment this was. It was something to behold. Yeah. It's worth watching because it's absolutely nuts. And quite a bleak ending. And I just don't know what to say. What a movie this is. This is just so weird. It really is. I don't know who wrote it, how they wrote it, why they wrote it. I don't know who directed it, but it's nuts. Hit like, hit subscribe. I'll see you next time. Nicolas Cage is always awkward.